Hi, I'm John McKernan, the author of Lightwright. I know you're eager to see what's new in version 6, so let's jump right into it. This is Lightwright for the Mac. There's also a version for Windows. The worksheet should look pretty familiar, and the View and Sorted By menus work the same way they always have. Let's look at Channel 101. There are new browser buttons and keyboard commands to navigate forward and backwards, just like on a website. Mac users will enjoy the new in-cell editing. Text automatically shrinks as needed, and column widths adjust continuously to help keep what you're working on in focus. There's a new button that puts blank rows at the beginning or at the end of the worksheet. The Nimber column now handles dimming and power, not DMX addresses. For those, there's a new address column, which can use range format, and new universe and DMX number columns. They're all linked together, so changing one changes the others. There are new dedicated columns for cable, control cable, and a total of 24 user-definable columns. Moving lights are usually rated in amps, not watts, so the watts column is now called load, and any cell can hold either watts or amps. A new entry on the View menu shows you one or more of the 45,000 possible universes. These buttons change the way the worksheet behaves. Short shows you short versions of your text entries. Gaps shows breaks between rows of numbers, in this case where there are unused channels. The Headers button adds a header at the beginning of each position or other text category, and you can collapse or expand the entire position. Another new feature is called Families. Text categories such as position can be grouped into families. In this case, all of the front of house positions are in a family named FOH. You can collapse and expand the headers one row at a time or all at once. Headers also show relevant information from maintenance. And double-clicking on a family header takes you directly to its maintenance list entry. Maintenance lists now have two name columns, the name column, which is the one you're used to, and a short column. When you enter something on the worksheet or in maintenance, both columns will contain the same information. However, often designers like using long names like number 1 electric, while electricians sometimes like shorter names such as 1E, especially when they're doing things like printing labels where space is limited. To create and edit families, you select Maintenance rows and click the Define and Detach Family buttons. A lot of theaters have more lens barrels than they have bodies to put them in, so they need to count bodies separately from barrels. Lightwright 6 makes this easy. You define a family whose members all share the same kind of lens tube. In this case, I made a families for source 4s. I enter the total number of bodies as the stock quantity for the family header, and the quantity of each lens tube as the stock quantity for each member of the family. When Lightwright counts, it gives you results for both the family header and its members. The Profiles and Other tab is new. This tab has information about fixture profiles, dip switches, and attribute lists. Let's look at fixture profiles. Lightwright 6 includes a fixture profile database with information on thousands of lights and accessories. These pop-up menus let you narrow down your search based on manufacturer, the kind of light, or a specific fixture name. The Mode button lists all of the possible modes for this light, and by choosing each one, we can see what attributes it uses. The profile database also includes info such as the DMX quantity, voltage, wattage or amperage, weight, and gobo size. Dip switches are another new feature. If you want to print labels with dip switches on them that show the local DMX number, you can add a dip switch and configure it here. Now let's look at position maintenance. All text categories have this Other tab that can contain up to 3 other columns related to the maintenance category. In this case, we have a user column called Iron, with the pipe and other hardware that's needed in each position. Let's look at circuit name maintenance, which should really be called multi-cable maintenance, as a lot of its new features are specific to multi-cable. The quantity of circuits in each multi-cable, the dimmer rack that each multi-cable is plugged into. You can link multi-cable circuit names to their power source. Changing the circuit name or circuit number on the worksheet changes the dimmer number. And if the dimmer number is linked to an address, that will change too, just like it does when you unplug a light from one circuit and plug it into another one. The Cable and Breakouts columns list the kinds of cable and breakouts you need. The cable column is also on the worksheet and has its own maintenance list. Speaking of circuits and dimmers, let's take a quick look at dimmer setup. In Lightwright 6, the word dimmer includes all kinds of power supplies, including dimmers, PDs, or whatever. There's a new service column for when you need to say where the dimmer rack or PD is getting its power from. Dimmer capacities can be either watts or amps. Dimmers can be linked to addresses. And there is enhanced support for ETC dimmer doubling, including setting the offset. Lightwright 5 brought us data exchange with Vectorworks, changing the way thousands of designers develop their light plots. Lightwright 6 brings us Console Link, which changes the way we work in the theater by allowing console data to flow back and forth between Lightwright and the console. This is the Console Link button. It's yellow, meaning we're currently connected to the console. Let's see what this can do for us. There is a new console level column. Selecting a level cell and pressing Enter toggles the channel on and off. We can select a whole group of rows if we want to, for instance, all of the lights in this position. Pressing the spacebar gives us some other options. We can toggle rem dim or set a specific level. Then there's that time when you're working on a cue and you can't figure out what that light is that's making the drop look ugly. You're turning channels off one by one, but still can't find it. With Console Link, you can choose View Active Channels on Worksheet and see the worksheet rows that are currently up on stage. You can also get cue lists from the console. This show file already has the cue list from a previous session. Let's take a look at it. You can add header rows, add or subtract columns for placement, description, or whatever, and format everything to your liking. To update the cue list, we just get cues from the console. New cues and changes are automatically merged into your cue list. After you set cue labels in Lightwright, you can send them to the console. If you want to be notified whenever a cue executes, a green light bulb shows you which cue has just been fired. The headset icons show cues that are called, and you can print a cue list that includes everything or only called cues. There's also a Groups window. You can make a group list by entering channel numbers here or downloading them from the console, and you can format and print group lists. You can also make groups by selecting worksheet rows. Let's make a group with all of the lights in this position. Choose Create Console Group and enter the group number and a label. When done, you upload the groups to the console. You can also compare Lightwright's patch with the console's data and export a special EOS file to patch the console and populate query tiles. Vectorworks Data Exchange now shares label legend, class, focus point, X, Y, and Z coordinates, symbol rotation angle, and inventory with Lightwright 6. Rotation can be edited on the worksheet, and you can print arrow icons on your paperwork. Layout has some new features too. Formatting options include background shading and WYSIWYG font menus. A single layout can contain multiple versions of each kind of paperwork. Channel focus charts are a new kind of standard paperwork. You can also mix landscape and portrait in a single print job, and a new layout file manager makes it easy to manipulate layouts. Then there are labels. Did you know that a busy production electrician can print up to 60,000 labels per year? They label lights, cables, breakouts, power racks. Until now, this involved exporting data from Lightwright into Excel, massaging it, then sending it to Microsoft Word for more massaging, and finally printing. Lightwright 6 makes printing labels quick and easy. Here's a typical label. Its size and shape come from the included Avery database. You choose where the data used in this label is coming from. Then you add text, lines, and panel objects to the label and attach data records to them. We can save each label in its own file and use the label manager to manipulate them. The Live button lets you scroll through your data to see how it's going to look. You'll notice that sometimes the instrument type panel turns yellow. That happens because label parts can have a condition that says to change their color when the content contains a specific word, in this case the word spare. File Print opens the Label Print Setup window, where you can see how many pages of labels you'll need and set some other options. The Work Notes window has a new By Category tab, which makes it really easy to see what needs doing. And last but not least, Lightwright 6 has a DMX address map. Overlapping addresses get red squiggles. You can also see the device type of the lights in each address and additional rows of information such as position and instrument type. And there are many more features you'll want to explore. Thanks for watching.